talented people, and it always amazes me what they can accomplish.
Oh, what I remember about Mrs. Campbell, I have a lot of different memories just because I went from being her student back in the early 90s and then keeping in contact with her once I graduated and I was in college, to coming back and then being her coworker here. She's definitely a role model for me. You know, when I look at my career in theater, not just directing, but some of the shows that I've done outside of the Prairie Heights community, she would be one of the top 5 people who I've modeled much of what I do in the theater world after. Mrs. Campbell was a good person. She was a very motherly person, an English teacher through and through. You know, she was somebody who knew the mechanics of good punctuation and spelling, something that I often fall short on, but just a very motherly person.
My senior year, I had her 3 times a day, and then I was in all the plays, so I would see her more than my own family. She was really kind, she was funny, she had a lot of patience and a lot of sense of humor for student shenanigans, which I think is pretty valuable if you're dealing with a lot of high schoolers all the time. Yeah, I think the kindness was a big thing. She was just always there and ready to listen to what you had to say and be patient and just basically everything you want in a good teacher and director.
By the time I was a senior, I had her half of the day and I was her student teacher. I was in theater for the last half of the day, and she's like a second mom. She's like my at-school mom.
You know, the theater experience here at Prairie Heights, it was very much her family. At the time that she took on coming back to theater in the early 90s when I was a student, that was a time in her life where her youngest daughter, Nicole, was just a little bit younger than me, and she was almost out of school. She was already in high school. So, you know, her nest was mostly empty, becoming more and more empty. So this, you know, became something special to her. The kids, especially I think in the later part of her career, had a special closeness to her for sure.
It's where you went if you weren't part of any other crowd, I guess you could say. I was a band kid and a theater kid. I didn't do the sports ball. And so that's where I went. Home away from home.
I wasn't there when she started the program, but I can't imagine the program being where it was now if she hadn't steered it. So I think it was her vision. She knew what she wanted the theater department to be like, and she worked hard to get it there. I think it was, well, again, her competence. Her financial management, I think, was a big deal, at least when I was in the program, that she was good about making money on the productions and not overspending her budget. So I think her competency in that area really helped keep the program afloat.
She was instrumental on the board of teachers and community members that got together that wanted the auditorium.
I don't know if we would have had, I don't think we would have had the auditorium we had without her, and the equipment that we had, and what technical achievements we would have been able to make without what she was able to give us.
You know, having an auditorium at Prairie Heights was always something that people wanted, but often, you know, even through the late 70s and early 80s, when you had teacher strikes and cutbacks and pay, it was often something that got put on the back burner. You know, when I look back at some of our past school board members, my dad, Mike McCrea for one, Mr. Howe, just so many who aren't on that plate that you see out there, the listing of the current board in 1991 when the auditorium came to be. There's a lot of people who had a hand in that. But she and I would say Mr. Huppler were just instrumental of really pushing for that.
She always knew what she was doing, and that gave us confidence. I never felt like she was flying by the seat of her pants.
I think about her a lot. There's not a time probably that I don't walk in these doors at Prairie Heights into the Bryce Steele Auditorium and think of her. And for a while I had to step away, but it's great being back for me. I'm helping as an assistant director with the middle school play. And it's a joy working with Mr. Eller and as well Mrs. Reed at the high school level. We make a great team, and it's nice because they don't know it so much. I do. But the current team of directors that we have here at Prairie Heights, from the high school down to the middle school, it's very similar to that atmosphere that I remember working in as a student and as a director. So it makes it special for me.
These shows were chosen because we decided that this season was the right time to do a tribute season, particularly because we got the new stage put in over the summer. And the idea had been in process for quite some time. It had been suggested a couple of years earlier that we should find a way to incorporate a tribute season to Mrs. Campbell. And when we were able to get the new stage, have the stage renamed in her honor, it just felt like the right thing to do.
Basically, I know that she was the director here for a long time, and she designed the auditorium we have, and that she was a great teacher and a great director, and everybody loved her, and she made a huge impact on a lot of people's lives.
I know that Mrs. Campbell touched a lot of the lives of people who help out every day with the theater, such as the alumni like Mrs. Wiley and everybody like that. But I know that she just really made an impact on this theater and really touched the lives of a lot of people that impact our lives today.
I didn't know Kristy Campbell very well, but I thought it was very sweet, and I thought that it was a very good idea to do something like this, and I thought it was very considerate.
I think the season went very well. All three shows were phenomenal. My favorite show was actually The Curious Savage, because there were so many just great characters in that show. There wasn't a bad character in the show. Everyone, not that the other shows had bad characters, but that one we had so much time to just dig into character work, and those characters were just so very lovable. You learned to get to know them like family almost. And I understand now why it was Mrs. Campbell's favorite show.
I think you should know that she loved her students. She loved what she did. And I think you could feel that in everything that she did in the theater program. The choices of plays she made, the casting decisions, the time she put into it. As an adult with kids now, I can't imagine giving up that much of my time to go towards students, and the students deserve it, but I can't personally imagine giving up that much of my life for theater. And she did it cheerfully, and she did it for years, gracefully, and I think that's something everyone should know about her. Like the immense sacrifices she made to make the theater program what it was, and just the amount of love and affection she put into everything.
I think what I would like people to know about Mrs. Campbell is not that she loved theater, but something special I think that she instilled in me is that the magic of theater is the different people it brings together. In a small setting like Prairie Heights, you know, we just don't have people who only do theater. It's like I always say, if you look at a theater kid at Prairie Heights, they're the kids who are involved in lots of different things. Our theater kids play football. Some of them are in the band. Some of them are in choir. Some of them take dance lessons 30 minutes away from the school. They work. They are the kids that do everything. And if you look at the organizations at Prairie Heights, all of the sports represented, in every organization, there's at least one theater kid. And she just had a certain magic of bringing all those kind of people together and making something special happen.